as a young police officer, I made very, very little money. So if I didn't have secondary income, I couldn't have made ends meet, couldn't have provided for my family. So it's a double-edged sword, so to speak, because there's a benefit for the employee and a benefit for the organization. Employees need it because pay compensation is typically low for the jobs they do, the hours they have to work, um, and so they need that. For the police chief, like in my case, it was good for me to have officers working these off-duty jobs because then I didn't have to budget the overtime to cover those. And these range in huge events like a UT football game. We don't, the PD does not pay for the stadium security. We contract that with UTPD. So had that been coming out of my budget, that would have been a huge chunk of change to come out of our budget. So secondary employment has been a emerging issue for a number of years in law enforcement. It's not necessarily new, but it's much more focused now because of a lot of different issues. Who's covering the liability of the officer? Is it the off-duty employer, or is it the city in Knoxville's case? So those kind of issues come into play. The strength in controlling secondary employment is solid policy with reasonable and solid standards and enforcement of those standards, making sure there's compliance. The stronger your policy, the stronger the compliance, the fewer the problems you're going to have. It's not going to be error-free, but the fewer problems you're going to have. And like I said, secondary employment is part of the culture. It's going to continue for the next 10 years, foreseeable future, because it's just part of the culture that, again, back to typically low wages, but it's something that's got to be controlled carefully so you protect the integrity of the agency and you're accountable to the public.